John Popper is an American musician and songwriter. He is most famous for his role as frontman of rock band Blues Traveler, performing harmonica, guitar and vocals. He is widely considered a harmonica virtuoso, and is listed by harmonica manufacturer Hohner as a featured artist, an accolade reserved for only the best and most successful harmonica players. Early life: John Popper was born in Chardon, Ohio. His father was a Hungarian immigrant who escaped Budapest in 1948. Through him, Popper is related to David Popper, a 19th-century European cellist whose many solo works for the cello are staples of the instrument's repertoire. John's mother and brother are lawyers. Popper was raised in Stamford, Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. He attended Davenport Road School, Stamford Catholic High School and Princeton High School. He took lessons on the piano, the cello, and the guitar, but none of those instruments appealed to him and he hated being forced to practice. He originally wanted to become a comedian, finding he could use humor to make friends and avoid bullies, but when he and a friend performed a routine as the Blues Brothers, he found that he enjoyed musical performance. From there, he took up the harmonica. Popper played trumpet in the Princeton High School studio jazz band, and convinced the teacher to let him play harmonica instead, after an in-class solo on the song She Blinded Me with Science. He formed several garage bands with friends in Princeton, New Jersey, one of which evolved into Blues Traveler in 1987. After graduating from high school, the group's members all moved to New York City, where Popper enrolled in the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music along with two of his bandmates and high school friend Chris Barron. Popper attended for 3 years but devoted himself to the band full-time once they signed a record contract in 1990. Career: Blues Traveler. Popper is a founding member of Blues Traveler, serving as the band's front man with lead vocals and harmonica. For some songs, he forgoes the harmonica in favor of guitar, most often a 12-string acoustic. In addition, Popper has played the tin whistle on some recordings. A prolific songwriter, he has composed the majority of the lyrics and music of Blues Traveler's songs. The band grew a following with its extensive touring, sometimes with over 300 dates a year, and gained a reputation in the jam band scene of the 1990s. Blues Traveler crossed over into mainstream pop rock radio success with their 1994 album 4, which garnered the group extensive media exposure. The Grammy Award for Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal in 1996 was awarded to Run Around, a song that Popper composed. Solo work: in 1990, Popper began to perform occasional solo concerts in addition to touring with Blues Traveler. Several songs that originated as Popper's solo pieces have become part of Blues Traveler's repertoire, and vice versa. Bolstered by Blues Traveler's mainstream success, Popper released a solo album, Zygote, in 1999 and toured in support of it with his own John Popper Band. The album was produced by Terry Manning, and the backing band consisted of longtime friends Dave Ayres, Craigie Riccio, and Rob Claus of Psychomatogoat, with drummer Carter Beauford of Dave Matthews Band. The album's release came less than 3 months after his heart surgery, and only days after the death of Bobby Sheehan, Popper's bandmate and best friend. The subsequent tour was cancelled midway due to poor ticket sales, and Popper instead took the time to focus on his health. Popper has co-written songs with Trey Anastasio, Warren Haynes, Chris Barron, and Johnny Lang. He also frequently appears as a guest performer with musicians both famous and obscure, from a diverse variety of genres. He has performed with, among others, jam bands Spin Doctors, Dave Matthews Band, Fish and most recently, the Allman Brothers Band in 2009. Bluesmen Eric Clapton and B.B. King. Singer-songwriters Jason Mraz and John Mayer. Saxophonist Carl Denson. San Francisco's Cullen's Hounds. Heavy metal band Metallica. Rock trio ZO2 and even with the Hungarian ambassador to the United States, Andrea Simoni. He sat in with the Smashing Pumpkins on the second day of their acoustic 1997 Bridge School benefit appearance, contributing harmonica for their song Porcelino of the Vast Oceans. Popper's solo garnered major applause from the audience. He also performed with the Grateful Dead at a tribute to Bill Graham in 1991. He was the harmonica player on Hanson's album This Time Around in 2000, for which he performed on If Only, and In the City. Side projects: in 1992, Popper conceived the Horde Festival as a venue to gain exposure for up-and-coming independent musicians. It ran until 1998. Popper was a part of a one-time studio band brought together in 1997 by New York drummer-songwriter Solomon De Niro. Other players included Trey Gunn, Bernie Worrell, Mark Ribot, and Vernon Reid. The group's only recordings were released as the album Gimme Gimme under the name The Devotees. The same recording was re-released by De Niro in 2001 with the title Solomon. Popper took over in 1998 as frontman of jam band supergroup Frogwings, which released the live album Croaking at Toads. Frogwings was mainly active until 2000. Recently, Popper formed a rock-hip-hop fusion group The John Popper Project with DJ Logic, which released an album in 2006 and performs occasionally. He also performs on the album Global Noise by Jason Miles and DJ Logic. Popper's latest side project is John Popper and the Duscray Troubadours, which plays Americana roots music. The group's self-titled debut from 429 Records was released March 2011 and produced by band member Jono Manson, who co-wrote much of the material. The first single, Something Sweet, written by Manson and Bruce Donola, was released February 7, 2011 on iTunes. Acting and media appearances: Popper had a speaking guest role in an episode of the sitcom Roseanne as a musician similar to himself. Popper appeared on episode 30 of Space Ghost Coast to Coast as a musical guest. Popper appeared as a guest on the IFC television comedy series Zed Rock. He plays a role as himself, and befriends the band ZO2, helping them get a record deal. He also played the Star-Spangled Banner prior to Game 4 of the 1996 World Series. In film, Popper had a cameo role as a bowling tournament MC in Kingpin and also with Blues Traveler as the Amish band singing, But Anyway at End of Movie, and an appearance in Howard Stern's Private Parts as himself. Another cameo followed in Blues Brothers 2000, with Blues Traveler appearing on the soundtrack and Popper also recording Buster Blues harmonica parts for the film. Popper's first major role was in 2000 in Just for the Time Being, an independent film starring Eva Herzig-Hoover. Popper has provided narration for art projects produced by his friends, including Das Clown, an award-winning short film in slideshow style that was screened at the Sundance Film Festival. Popper served as host of the third annual Jammy Awards in 2002. He has been a recurring guest on Howard Stern's and Bill Mayer's shows and sits in with the CBS Orchestra on The Late Show with David Letterman on occasion. In 2009, he sat in with the Roots on an episode of Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. Popper performed Something Sweet with the Duscray Troubadours on the TBS show Lopez Tonight on March 1, 2011. He also sat in with the house band for the closing number of the show. Personal life: since the success of Blues Traveler, Popper has lived in various locations, including rural Pennsylvania and New Orleans. He currently has a residence near Snohomish, Washington. In October 1992, Popper was involved in a traffic accident on a motorcycle while traveling to a studio to record for Blues Traveler's third album. The accident put him in a wheelchair for several months, but Popper continued touring with the band despite the difficulties it created. In 1999, he suffered a near-fatal heart attack brought on by years of compulsive overeating. Doctors at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center performed an emergency angioplasty which saved Popper's life. He had 95% arterial blockage. Popper later underwent gastric bypass surgery and lost a significant amount of weight. Popper has a tattoo across his chest that says, "I want to be brave," written backwards. Weapons collecting: Popper is an avid collector of weaponry, including firearms, swords, and a working $10,000 American Civil War cannon. He cites a fascination with their aesthetic of being life-savingly efficient machines. Popper is a supporter of Second Amendment rights, and appeared on an MTV-sponsored roundtable discussion on gun control which included panelists from the Law Enforcement Alliance of America and Harvard's John F. Kennedy School of Government. He carries weapons in any state where it is allowed, even wearing them on stage. On his Daily Show appearance, he stated that he decided to move away from New Jersey because of the state's tight gun laws. He said that his Bucks County, Pennsylvania property had 32 acres on which he built a private gun range. Politics. Popper is a member of the Libertarian Party, and has previously expressed support for the Republican Party. He endorsed George W. Bush in the 2004 U.S. presidential election. In November 2008, Popper said, regarding Barack Obama, "This is the first time I voted for a Democrat, ever." John Popper was a supporter of Ron Paul during the 2012 presidential election, even participating in phone banking at Ron Paul's New Hampshire campaign headquarters. He also played a short set during Ron Paul's We Are the Future rally, an alternative convention for Paul supporters which was held in Tampa the day before the 2012 Republican National Convention. Popper has played at conventions, fundraisers, and ceremonies for both Republican and Democratic politicians. He has stated that politics do not influence his choice of performance setting. Popper has said, "I was a bleeding heart liberal, until I got a job," and describes himself as a libertarian who is a Republican when pushed. Popper summed up his political position by saying, "I believe in freedom for markets and freedom for individuals, so I guess that it makes me a libertarian." Popper has toured with the USO, both with Blues Traveler and solo. In the mid-2000s, he toured the Middle East, performing with the band of the Air Force Reserve and Jamie O'Neill at various military camps. He has appeared with Rock the Vote and recorded the preamble for the Schoolhouse Rock's the Vote album. Religion. Popper was raised Catholic, and for a time attended Stanford Catholic High School in Connecticut. However, he does not actively practice in his adult life. He has described himself as a recovering Catholic. The song Trina Magna was written as an exploration of his religious views. Legal trouble. In 2003, Popper was arrested for possession of marijuana. Popper was arrested again on March 6, 2007 near Ritzville, Washington by the Washington State Patrol. He was the passenger in his own vehicle, which was stopped for speeding, and was found to be in the possession of a small amount of marijuana and weapons. Popper was released the same night. The vehicle had a stash of hidden compartments which contained 4 rifles, 9 handguns, a switchblade knife, a taser, a set of brass knuckles, and night vision goggles. The vehicle was temporarily seized. No charges were filed for the weapons, as they were all registered and securely locked away, and Popper was licensed to carry them, with the exception of the brass knuckles and switchblade knife which Popper agreed to surrender. A deal was reached that allowed the marijuana charge to be dropped if Popper remained free of further drug infractions for 1 year and attended 8 hours of drug counseling. Popper and the driver had been driving back to Washington from Austin, Texas, and Popper likes to visit gun ranges during long trips. Equipment. John Popper has expressed a preference for the Hohner Special 20 brand blues harp, calling them the Porsche of harmonicas. Popper uses Shure microphones and Mesa Boogie amplifiers, similar to bandmate Chan Kinkler. He also uses Didgeridoo strings. Trademark equipment. Popper has developed some equipment innovations to accommodate his use of harmonicas during on-stage performances. Because each individual diatonic harmonica is tuned to one particular key, he fashioned belts with enough pockets to hold harmonicas in all 12 keys and wore them as a bandolier, or slung over his neck. He frequently has to switch keys multiple times within one song, and this arrangement allowed him to quickly trade one harmonica for another without looking. In 2002, he stopped using the belts because they no longer fit him properly due to his weight loss. Now he carries his harmonicas in a small black attaché copyright case. He uses a special microphone with switches that change the audio effect of the harmonica as it is played through an amplifier, similar to a guitar effects pedal. Popper was inspired by Jimi Hendrix's guitar playing to make his instrument sound however he wanted. He has fashioned a number of floppy-brimmed hats with flattened harmonica cover plates on the band, which he almost always wears during appearances with Blues Traveler. Discography, performances and appearances. Discography, solo, Zygote, Go Outside and Drive single, with Blues Traveler, see Blues Traveler discography, with the Devotees, Gimme Gimme, with Frogwings, Croakin' at Toads, with the John Popper Project, the John Popper Project with DJ Logic, with the Duscray Troubadours, John Popper and the Duscray Troubadours, Something Sweet single, featured music appearances, Northbound Train from Broadway musical soundtrack The Civil War, The Complete Work, duet with Eric Clapton on Christmas Blues from A Very Special Christmas Live, duet with B.B. King on Backdoor Santa from A Very Special Christmas Volume 5, solo instrumental track. Harmonica musings from the soundtrack of Blues Brothers 2000, harmonica solos of Character Buster Blues in the Blues Brothers 2000 film, regarding Stephen from the 2000 compilation VH1 Storytellers Live, Alone from Warren Haynes Presents, The Benefit Concert, Volume 2, Devil Got My Woman, Alone, and Sign on the Door from Warren Haynes Presents, The Benefit Concert, Volume 3, The Preamble from Schoolhouse Rocks the Vote. Guest music appearances. Television appearances. Popper performed a duet with Dolly Parton on her Treasures television special in 1997, appeared on a 1996 episode of The Late Show with David Letterman to surprise Manny the Hippie with a harmonica duel, appeared as a guest on an episode of the Cartoon Network comedy talk show Space Ghost Coast to Coast, had speaking lines on an episode of the sitcom Roseanne's character Stingray Wilson, a musician similar to Popper himself. An animated clay caricature of Popper fought a match in the MTV series Celebrity Deathmatch, defeating singer Fiona Apple. Popper appeared on Penn and Teller's Sin City Spectacular, playing harmonica during a card trick performance, was a guest on Comedy Central's The Daily Show in 2003 promoting Blues Travelers' album Truth Be Told, was a celebrity coach in the final round of America's Got Talent. Other appearances. Popper has played his Jimi Hendrix-inspired harmonica rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at National Basketball Association, National Football League and Major League Baseball games, including the World Series. Notes and references. External links, John Popper at the Internet Movie Database, John Popper's biography at bluestraveler.com, John Popper collection at the Internet Archive's Live Music Archive.